Welcome back to Book Break, the Greece Public Library's podcast for readers. I'm your host, Claire, and today I am joined by my fellow librarian, Molly.
Hello.
And we are sinking into the shadows with an episode that we are calling Midsummer Mysteries.
Yep, we like to read our mysteries, and one of them is a little bit of a thriller. I think you might have a thriller thrown in the mix as well.
Yeah, mine kind of went a little dark. I'm going to start fluffy and move to darker, but...
Sounds good.
Yeah, unlike a lot of people that read rom-coms in the summer, I usually like to throw in some mysteries, whether it's a cozy mystery or a high-octane thriller. There's historical ones. I think it adds a little chill to the summer heat, so...
Yeah, I have a mix of them as well, a cozy, a thriller, a funny one.
Okay.
Somebody asked for a cat mystery today.
A cat mystery?
Oh, there's no cats in mine.
I don't think I have cats either.
Well, you might as well turn this episode off then.
We have failed before we have begun.
We have failed. Oh, no. All right, well... Without further ado, I'm going to jump into my first one, which I have seen a lot on the internet, a lot of buzz. It's called All the Other Mothers Hate Me by Sarah Harmon. And this one came out, I believe, this winter, like February or March.
Yeah, it's a fairly new one.
Yeah. The most exciting buzz I can tell you about this one is there was a bidding war. Oh. And the team that creates that show, The Bear, on FX.
Yep, I watched that.
We're the winners of, so this one will be coming to the screen at some point. It was a very entertaining, wild ride. I thought it was funny in parts, but I would not recommend this book if you like your mothers to be well behaved.
What does it mean?
Well, all right, here's the setup. Here's Florence. She likes to take a walk on the wild side, and some of her decisions had me ready to take the book and throw it across the room. So Florence Grimes is a 31-year-old single mom. She has a 10-year-old son named Dylan. She sang in an all-girl band in England, and her career came to a humiliating end, and now Florence is delivering balloon bouquets to posh moms in England, watching reality TV, drinking a lot, and making many questionable, impulsive decisions. Okay? So,
but no cats.
No cats.
Not yet.
So her son goes to a private school due to the fact that his father, who is now a music executive and highly successful, this is where he went to school. So kind of a, what do you call that?
Legacy.
Yes. Legacy type thing. So Alfie's Risby is her son's bully. And they've had some fights and spats in school, and her son has been suspended for a few days, I think, for said fights. But anyway, Alfie mysteriously disappears on a school field trip when he is paired with Dylan as his partner.
And these kids are 10?
Yes.
They're not starting off very well.
No.
Oh boy.
And Alfie is also the heir to a vast frozen food empire, okay?
Bird's eye?
Well, it's set in England, so I don't know if it's bird's eye. But that would be, comparable.
Okay.
So Florence, for once, is faced with a task that she's got to do. She's got to find Alfie. She's got to clear her son's name. Or, she's going to risk losing her son forever. So never mind that she really has no useful skills, including investigative ones. All the other moms hate her, and I say, and rightly so, Florence, for some of the things that she's done, except she does have one new friend, and it's an American mom who is also a single mom. She's an attorney, so these two are going to pair up and try to solve this crime. So
The police aren't doing a good enough job finding a missing 10-year-old.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
The police never do a good enough job. Although you have to think that if this were in fact true, where you have the heir to a wealthy,
rich kid,
disappear in the middle of London, you would think that there would be some you know,
Some major police presence
activity.
on it.
So, and the other thing is she's not 100% sure that Dylan is as innocent as he appears. Just to throw that in at
How
you.
old's Dylan?
10.
Dylan's a little odd, okay? So,
So this is a funny book. Like,
Yeah.
is it like dark humor? Like it's
yes,
meant to be funny?
It's meant to be funny. Like I said, the only thing that bothered me is like she supposedly cares so much about her son, but she'll go out and leave him 10 years old alone, go out on a date with somebody she just met and do all kinds of things, come home the next day, find out he's already gone to school without her, that type thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting.
so if that's your jam, jump right in. I would say, though, after seeing that this has been picked up for a TV series, that I would think this would be a very entertaining TV series if they got the right people to play these parts.
yeah.
So,
Well, I feel like my book, I'll talk about my darkly funny one as well. It's fairly new. It just came out in May, and it's called The Retirement Plan by Sue Hinsenbergs. So this isn't really a traditional mystery. It's more very dark humor with a bit of a thriller in it. And it follows 4 lifelong friends. They're now in their 60s, Pam, Nancy, Shalisa, and Marlene, and they're all friends along with their husbands, and, you know, they go back decades, so think backyard barbecues, kids' sporting events, they've taken shared vacations, and they always had this vision that they were going to retire together by the pool, sipping drinks, having a great time. Well, it's not really going that well because a few years prior, their husbands took all their savings and all their money and put it in what turned out to be a disastrous investment.
Oh, no.
And all of them lost everything.
Oh,
So
dear.
now they're broke, no retirement cushion. They're going to have to work forever. And even before this happened, none of their marriages were on solid ground. Things were a bit shaky for all of them due to various reasons, you know, the things that happen over the years. But really, since they had this financial disaster, things are not good. None of them are happy. So one day, Marlene's husband, Dave, is killed in a tragic accident involving their garage door, which Marlene has been telling him for years is broken, yet of course he never listened and he didn't fix it. So Dave gets his skull crushed, and lo and behold, it turns out that Dave had taken out a huge life insurance policy without his wife knowing. So now Marlene is a wealthy widow. She's jetted off to Boca Raton, Florida, bought a fancy condo, living a grand life as a rich widow. So the other remaining 3 wives think,
oh dear. Oh dear. I see where this is going.
yeah. And they find out that their husbands also had taken out this big life insurance policy. And one of them says, hey, things aren't going so well. We want to join Marlene. And they're not all on board right at first, especially Pam. You know, this is the father of her child. And it's like, I'm not sure we want to kill all of our husbands just to get the insurance money. Like, okay, we can keep working our crummy jobs and divorce them. But then her husband, Hank, does the unthinkable. He ate her favorite leftover takeout.
I thought you were going to tell me he had an affair.
No. The last straw was she had pad thai in the fridge. Hank knew that is her favorite, and he ate it anyways. And when she confronted him, he just said, I don't care. I wasn't even that hungry. So after that, Pam agrees with the other ladies and says, yes, let's hire a hitman. We are going to get rid of all our husbands in one fell swoop.
Oh dear.
So it's not quite as simple as that. Turns out that the husbands, 2 of whom worked at a casino, may have had some shady things happening to ensure their own retirement plan. And we're not even sure if Dave really was killed by the garage door. Maybe it was the casino's owners who were kind of on to what was happening. So that's a bit of the mystery. Like, how did Dave really die?
Okay.
So it turns into a cat and mouse kind of thriller. Who's going to prevail? Is it going to be the husbands or the wives? Who's going to end up with a great retirement by the pool? And again, it's preposterous, but you
Right.
go into it knowing that, and it really is funny. Like, I laughed quite a bit during this book, and the author is a Canadian. This was her first book, but she was a television producer in
Okay.
Canada, and she did sitcoms as well. So it has that vibe. They mentioned the Golden Girls in the book a few times, and that age group and the friends. And this has also been optioned to be a movie. And
Okay.
again, they're making really poor life choices, but it was funny.
All right. Well, my next one, the poor choices continue. It's called Party of Liars by Kelsey Cox. And this one was also a debut novel. Just came out July 1st. I listened to the audiobook, which had a full cast narration. And here is the setup. So it is a lavish Texas-sized Sweet 16 party that turns deadly. So it's
As they often do.
as they often do. So it kind of has a take on a classic locked room mystery. So today it is Sophie Matthews' 16th birthday party. This is going to be an exclusive black tie bash in the heart of Texas Hill Country. And Sophie's dad has spared no expense. He has a renovated cliffside mansion, which is thought to be haunted. That's another thing that's thrown in here. And he's hosting the event of the season. The only thing, Sophie's dad, 2 wives. First one was the one that designed, put her blood, sweat, and tears into this wonderful house that she got thrown out of when he decided to take up with the young, beautiful girl at the coffee cafe in town, aspiring baker. So this story is told from 4 points of view. You have Danny, who is the new stepmom. She's been plagued by self-doubt. She has her own new baby girl, so a bit of the baby blues going on and maybe some other things. She definitely is feeling the spirits in the house, who, of course, is a mother, who lost her child. Then we have the weird nanny, who was Orlaith, and she is a very superstitious Irish nanny, always sensing danger. And we have Michaela, who is the birthday girl's best friend,
Okay.
who is not really as meek as anyone says, or all the popular kids assume. She always feels like she's the hanger-on. They were
Okay.
friends. She was friends with Sophie for a long time. But now Sophie is a cheerleader at school. She's kind of venturing off into different friend groups and so forth. And then we have Kim, who is the ex-wife, who's definitely drinks a lot, has a lot of grudges. So all the voices are read by different people, and the Irish accent comes across pretty well. I'm pretty judgmental about that. So what I felt is it was fun, but I felt it could have really used some editing and been a lot shorter. I mean, I got to the point where it's like, okay, let's get to the point. Who died at this party? Because they don't really tell you who died.
So
find
you know
out.
that somebody died,
You
but
know
you don't
that
know
somebody
who.
died, but you don't
Yeah,
know who.
so many
and then
books
they
are like
start
that.
going back into the backstory about how he left his wife, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have the little friend coming in, and after a while, I was like, why am I hearing from this little 16-year-old girl? I don't want to hear from you. So it ends up, and then the Irish nanny thing too. But of course, it all ties up neatly with a bow at the end. All these people are in fact related to the event which happened before, which led to the death. So,
Did you predict, the ending?
not really.
Yeah.
But I was
Okay.
getting irritated
Yeah.
because I couldn't predict, and I was getting like
Come on
chomping at the
already.
bit.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted it to be done. So,
Okay.
but if you like that kind of thing of rich people behaving badly, might be entertaining.
Sounds like a solid thrower.
Yeah,
you know,
solid
for your-
3. That's what I feel like a lot of mine were this time. Solid
Yeah.
3s. So
Well, I have another solid 3, but it is a cozy mystery. I felt like we should have a cozy mystery, and it's a brand new one by Laura Lippman called Murder Takes a Vacation, and it is about Muriel Blossom, who they call Mrs. Blossom throughout the book. She is a plus-sized 68-year-old widow who used to be a former assistant to a private investigator.
Okay.
And Mrs. Blossom is a side character in one of Laura Lippman's other series, Tess Mahanigan, I believe.
Laura Lippman, she does those mysteries set in Baltimore.
Yes.
Okay.
So are these Tess Monahan
Okay.
series. And you don't have to have read those to enjoy this one. This is the first one that's centered around the character of Mrs. Blossom. So when the book first starts off, Mrs. Blossom is kind of at a crossroads of her life. She's retired and she has spent the last, number of years out west with her daughter's family helping to raise her grandchildren when her daughter and son-in-law quite suddenly decide they're going to move to Japan. And guess what? They didn't really invite grandma.
Oh, my.
So she decides to move back to her home city of Baltimore. And extra fun thing is she is newly wealthy. She found a winning lottery ticket worth $8 million. And so now she's taken this opportunity to kind of move on with her life. She's been grieving her husband, and she's going to take the trip of a lifetime to Europe, which she's always wanted to do. So the book starts off, she is about to go on her flight across the ocean to London and Paris, and she's anxious, and a charming gentleman kind of takes her under his wing. They sit together, and his name is Alan. He's very interested in her, and she misses a connecting flight in London, so they end up spending the day together in London, and Alan shows her the sights, and there's a bit of a romance happening, and Mrs. Blossom is surprised because it's the first time that's happened since her husband died.
Hopefully he's not trying to rip her off. Boy, am I a cynic.
Never. Always trust men you sit next to in airplanes. Come on, Claire. So they have this day together and they leave, Mrs. Blossom has to continue on with her trip to Paris, and they kind of make some vague plans to meet up sometime in the future. So she continues on to Paris, is there about a day when she gets a text, a phone call, it might have been a phone call, I can't remember, from the police in Paris saying she was the last person to have any contact with Alan, who has, of course, plunged to his death off of a balcony in Paris.
Oh, my.
Yes. And that's where the mystery begins. Who was Alan really? There is a stolen ancient artifact from Pakistan that is somehow involved, and people keep on kind of following Mrs. Blossom throughout her European vacation, which includes a very nice posh river cruise along the River Seine. So it's a fun book. She did get on my nerves a little bit because for someone who had a private investigator background, she was awfully naive and trusting.
Okay.
But
Yeah, especially as someone that just won an $8 million lottery ticket. Not that anyone would be trying to,
Yes.
manipulate you for that.
yes, but it turned out I got invested in the story, and I did like this character. It's kind of, an exploration, that she's an older character, reinventing your life, finding joy, in your later years. And of course, she's got this mystery to crack that that's what she's going to do.
It's kind of a new direction, though, for Laura Lippman, because she usually does like hard-boiled kind of, missing girl type.
Yeah, I have never read anything by her before.
I've read
but
a couple of hers.
This was definitely on the cozy side.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be the last Mrs.
No, it sounds like
Blossom
she's
book.
setting up a series, which a lot of
Yes.
cozy readers really like a series. so.
Yes, and the Tess character, the private eye, she does make an appearance in this book because she needs help cracking the case.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to going to turn dark now.
Okay.
My book is called Coram House, and it's by Bailey Seabolt. This one is another debut. I realize 3 out of my 4 books I'm talking about are
mine
debuts
too. Mine
today.
too.
And I would say this one is more of a slow burn suspense more than a thriller. But what's interesting is the author Bailey Seabolt used to look at a beautiful old building where she worked in Burlington, Vermont, and then discovered through her research that this building had a very dark history. And this is true.
Okay.
It was a real-life abuse case with the Catholic Church. It was St. Joseph's Orphanage in Burlington. So she kind of based a little bit of this book on that premise. So in summer, it has 2 different storylines, too. You have a historical storyline where a boy goes missing in 1968 at this orphanage, and then you have a more modern storyline. So in 1968, 9-year-old Tommy vanishes without a trace from Coram House, an orphanage on the shores of Lake Champlain. Some say a nun drowned him. Others say he ran away, or maybe he never existed. 50 years later, his disappearance is still a cold case. So then we have in the modern day a true crime writer named Alex Kelly. She really needs a fresh start. Her career, she had a great book to start her career, and then it was followed by a complete and total flop where she was accused of kind of manipulating evidence in a true crime, which
That's
really,
serious.
very serious
writer.
allegation. But at the time, her husband was undergoing cancer treatments and he passed away. So she did have a lot of grief and a lot of different things going on in her personal life that kind of led to the compromise of this book. So anyway, she gets an offer to come and help, ghostwrite this novel about this orphanage by someone in the town of Vermont. And she decides she's going to go, but when she starts looking into it and looking at past interviews and everything, she keeps hearing, like she heard a story about this boy Tommy, but then it was kind of like squashed. So she can't help but think that something is going on here. So as she's trying to untangle all these stories, she's got the police thinking that she's trying to make a name for herself and bring her career back. But meanwhile, a woman drowns in the lake that she sees when she was off running. So, and she swears that someone was there. So now you've really got a missing person in the modern world while she's trying to write this book. So, of course, the bodies start to pile up. And she is determined that she's going to figure out what happened in the past because she thinks that trying to delve into this boy Tommy's disappearance is leading to the crimes in modern day, and someone has a story that they don't
Somehow
want
connected.
told. Meanwhile, this building has been purchased by a very wealthy developer who wants to turn it into like a retirement community on the shores of Lake Champlain. So you have all these different things going on. It is dark. It is very kind of mysterious. So I liked it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
yeah,
I
this
actually
one-
have that one at home. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, this one, I rated a little higher as more than just, an average, it was good.
Yeah.
I thought this one was a little bit better, but it had a little bit more meat to the story, especially since it was based on a real place and a real crime. I like
I
that.
always like that.
Yeah, me too. So what you got?
Okay, I have a historical fiction mystery called A Disappearance in Fiji by Nalima Rao. It was published a few years back in 2023, and what really prompted me to pick up this book was its setting. It's one that I'm not really familiar with. It's set in 1914 on the island of Fiji, which was then, at the time, a British colony, and it follows a 25-year-old Indian Sikh police officer named Sergeant Akal Singh. And he had a very promising career back in his country India, and then he was also in Hong Kong, and things were going really well when he made a pretty serious professional misstep, and instead of just outright firing him, they basically exiled him to be an officer on Fiji.
What a place to be exiled.
He was not happy about it. He called it the godforsaken island. And I listened to this one. I listened to some of the audiobook and also read it, and they do excellent accents, and the audiobook was really good on this one. So he's been on Fiji for just a few months, isn't really happy there. He's desperate to kind of redeem himself and, prove that he's a good police officer. He really wants to get back to Hong Kong and civilization. When he's assigned a missing persons case, there's been a disappearance of Indian indentured laborer on a nearby sugarcane plantation, a beautiful young woman named Kunti. Now, his boss wants him to tie this case up quickly. It's kind of attracted the attention of the newspapers in Fiji, who are using it as a way to highlight, all the injustices of the British colonization and how they were treating these Indian workers, and his boss wants him to just, kind of nip this in the bud. So he ends up traveling through the jungle, it's quite a ways to get there. And of course, when he gets there, it's not as clear-cut as they had hoped. He interviews the white plantation owners, who insist nothing suspicious has happened, that this woman just escaped, ran off, seems like she was having some sort of relationship with her overseer. Nothing fishy is going on. She just left. But then when he interviews the native Fijians and the other Indian workers, they have a different story. So what I really liked about this, I always like to learn things, when I'm reading, and I wasn't familiar with this time period. And the author, this is, I believe, her debut book. She is a Fijian, Indian, Australian author.
Wow.
Who says that she is culturally confused, and that kind of comes out and is explored a little bit in this book. The main character, even though he's also Indian, because he's of a different religion and caste than the indentured Indians on the plantations, he kind of feels like he's above them and he doesn't relate to them, and that all kind of is explored in this book. And so even though like those are heavy topics, the general tone of this one is pretty light. Like when you read the reviews, it says, oh, it's charming, and there's witty banter, and the character himself is very likable. So it's I wouldn't say a light read, but more on the lighter side. And the second one in the series just came out, I believe a month or two ago, A Shipwreck in Fiji. So he is continuing on. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I'll pick up the second one.
Sounds good. All right, so I'm going into my darkest one yet, and this definitely is not a debut author. This is someone that I have read. This is the fourth book I've read by him, and it is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. So S.A. Cosby, if you are not familiar with him, is the king of Southern noir. I listened to this one part way. Again, his narration is done by, I believe he's an actor. His name is Adam Lazar White, and he does a fantastic job with narrations and voices and characters and everything. But I wanted to know what was going on so much that I had to switch to the ebook, because I can read it faster than I can listen. So, and just so you know, this one, Netflix has already snagged the rights for this novel, and thanks to another bidding war, won by Michelle and Barack Obama's production company, didn't know they had one, alongside Steven Spielberg, who reportedly was so keen to acquire this book that he personally weighed in on the negotiations. So that's your tea that I'm spilling today about King of Ashes.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So I would say, to sum this up in a sentence, this is like a Godfather-inspired Southern crime epic and family drama.
Is it a long book, or is it?
You know what?
Kind of mid.
I would say it's between 300 and 400 pages.
Okay,
but
so not.
It was the kind of thing that once you start reading, you can't stop. and all of his books are kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm on hold for this one.
Yeah. So we have our eldest son, Roman Carruthers. He is summoned home after his father has been in a very serious car accident. Roman is a big-wig financial kind of guy in Atlanta. He deals with a lot of portfolios of stars and entertainers, living the good life. He finds out his younger brother, Dante, is in debt to dangerous criminals, and his sister, Nevea, is exhausted from trying to hold down the family business, which is a crematorium in southwest or southeastern Virginia. So, Nevea and her father ran the Carruthers Crematorium, and the rundown, okay, it's Jefferson Run, that's the town. But anyway, so Roman begins to wonder, was this crash an accident? Oh, and meanwhile, to add drama to this story, the mother of the matriarch of this family, mysteriously disappeared years ago, and her car was found near the railroad tracks where the father's accident occurred.
Okay.
So Roman decides, with his financial whiz, head for numbers and talent and everything, he is going to work with these gangsters the only way he knows how. He's going to kind of go in from the inside and try to get his brother out of this financial mess that he's gotten himself into. While he's doing this, Nevea is meanwhile trying to uncover the long-ago mystery of what happened to their mother. But Roman, when he gets into the crime, you really feel like after a while this is almost like a Shakespearean thing. Is he affecting that, or is it affecting him? So it ends up being a lot darker. There is some violence. Every one of these three children were affected differently about the disappearance of their mother, and that weighs very heavily on the themes of this novel. So you have crime, you have guilt, you have remorse. All three carry demons. Roman has an S&M kink to massage his guilt. Dante has a drug addiction, and Nevea is just kind of chained to the family business and the father trying to be the responsible one and do the right thing. So yeah, S.A. Cosby is a really interesting guy. He is one person I really would love to see talk and everything in person. He did not get to finish college. He went home, took care of his mother, who was ill. The way he got into writing, he's 50-some years old now.
And he's only been a published author for 5-6 years,
and
maybe a little longer.
Unlike
so in his 40s.
A lot of other people that have the masters in, MFA and all this other stuff, he doesn't have any of that. So, but when you hear him talk and everything, and the fact that his wife owns a crematorium, so some of the scenes that are in here with that, well, I'll just leave that to your imagination. But he said he was very inspired by Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I've only ever read All the Sinners Bleed by him, but that was one of my favorite books that year when I read it.
I think I started with Blacktop Wasteland and then went to Razorblade Tears, which might have been on Barack Obama's, how he does a summer reading list.
I think All the Sinners Bleed was, and that's why I picked it up.
So, very working class background. His dad's a commercial fisherman in Virginia. Worked at Lowe's and still works at the funeral home. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, my last one is also the darkest of the four that I read. It's a new one called Our Last Days by Anna Bailey. And it is also a Southern Gothic mystery. So it's It's kind of gritty, it's edgy, and it is set in the swamps and the bayous of rural Louisiana. So our main character is a 28-year-old woman named Loyal May. She's a newspaper journalist, and she escaped her small town of Jackknife, Louisiana, about 10 years prior when she was 18. Now, as a child and growing up, her best friend was named Cutter LeBasque, and Cutter's family was troubled, to say the least. Her parents were addicts. They ended up getting killed in an accident. And she grew up in the swamps of Louisiana, kind of on the edges of polite society. And they made money, her and her brothers, by hunting alligators and also eating whatever they could find in the swamp: snakes, frogs, turtles. So she was always in trouble at school. But Loyal and Cutter, they were best friends. And something happened when they were 18. Loyal basically betrayed Cutter in a way, and they stopped speaking when Loyal left town, and they haven't spoken in the 10 years since. So 10 years later, Loyal has to come back to her hometown because her mother has dementia, so she needs to help take care of her. Loyal gets a job at the local struggling newspaper in town. And kind of in the back of her mind, she has always felt guilty about the way she treated Cutter 10 years ago, and she wants to reconcile with her. The first case that she gets sent on for the newspaper, the police have found a body in the swamp. And guess who it is?
Oh, no.
It's Cutter, her childhood friend. The police immediately rule it that it's a suicide, case closed, but Loyal May does not think that's the case. And so she and kind of a quirky, another quirky writer at the local newspaper start diving into the town secrets and the web of lies and deceit, and to figure out what really happened to Cutter. Was it a suicide or something more sinister? So this book, again, was definitely dark. It's more of a slow burn, character-driven kind of suspense.
I might have to read this.
Mystery. The word that kept coming to mind and that I saw in all the reviews was atmospheric. Mm-hmm. So you feel like you are in a humid swamp with the bugs and the stench of rotting vegetation, and maybe there's an alligator nearby. Like, the author really did a good job of making you feel like you were there. So, so that is the mystery roundup. We had quite a few of them.
Well, thank you for joining me on this Midsummer Mystery Roundup escape. So you can find all the titles that are mentioned in today's episode at the Greece Public Library in our show notes. We'll let you know if it's in ebook form, audio.
Yep.
So stay cool, keep reading, and don't forget there are great prizes to be won in our summer reading program.
Happening.
So you've still got plenty of time. It doesn't end till August 9th?
August 9th.
Yes.
Yep.
Come in, register, or register right online on our Beanstack. You can find the link on our webpage. Mm-hmm. So until August, we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Book Break is a production of the Greece Public Library, made possible through the support of the Friends of the Greece Public Library. Theme music composed and performed by Sean Greif.